neglect sites and basically stand in the way of everyday people. Last month, we also passed a resolution to use blight condemnation to take ownership of properties whose condition is so harmful to our communities that we simply cannot wait for a neglectful owner to take action. We are pairing these new tools alongside our expanded approach to code enforcement and prosecution of nuisance cases. We will use every tool at our disposal to root out bad actors holding our neighborhoods back. However, enforcement is just the tip of the spear, tip of the iceberg. We have learned a lot about why blight happens in our community. And if we want to ensure that our healthy, thriving neighborhood vision becomes a reality, we need to do more to support our legacy residents and preserve generational wealth. That's why we are focused on standing up support and resources for residents, including estate planning, legal support for tax and title issues, accelerating our ownership, our owner-occupied rehab programs, expanding our anti-displacement tax relief programs, and more. We are doing this because we know the best way to strengthen our neighborhoods is to strengthen our neighbors. We also are working alongside our nonprofit and philanthropic partners, like the Westside Future Fund here with John Allman and his team. Their commitment to working with the community, for the community, will help us break these cycles of blight by ensuring vacant land is brought back up to productive life. We also recognize that the Atlanta Land Bank and Invest Atlanta, who play huge roles in navigating the logistics of returning property to productive use, where local residents can live and thrive. We've come a long way since 2022, and we will continue to move with urgency to make our neighborhoods better. Our goals are big, but our appetite to work on it is even bigger. And we've got a deep bench of people and organizations who know how to work together to get these things done. As you see behind us are key leaders in our community. It's important that everyone continues to use 311 to report vacant and abandoned properties when we see it, so we can fix it. Thank you for trusting us to lead this work. It's an honor. And one last thing, I want to recognize a special guest who is with us today. We have Destiny, who is a homeowner in this neighborhood, and this is Destiny's house, y'all. She has an incredible journey to tell about home ownership. Destiny was in my program at TechBridge. She learned technology and graduated and got a great job, and now she is creating generational wealth by being a homeowner. She just told me that she's got okra growing in the back over here. She's got some trees that she got all kinds of stuff that she's about to do. And she's gonna be one of our great contributors to this neighborhood. And so I'm just happy to say that with the help of all these partners, significant investment from Invest Atlanta, work with Atlanta Housing, of course, our city council, Westside Future Fund, and everybody like that, Destiny was able to secure her house and her future. And we wouldn't and couldn't be prouder of her than that. This is what government does. When we work with nonprofits, work with the philanthropic community, this is what success ends up looking like, as someone that moves into a community and contributes to her community positively. Now, I'd like to turn it over to our great council member of this district, District 3, Council Member Byron Amos, who worked closely with us this summer on blight tax legislation. Byron?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And welcome to Atlanta City Council District 3. You know, on behalf of the residents of English Avenue, Council District 3, and all other neighborhoods in the city, regardless of the name, that may be experiencing blight, I want to say thank you to the mayor and to his team for fulfilling a promise that he made during the campaign. Thank you for hearing the voices of the people that have held Atlanta together when all others left. Thank you for hearing the voices of our legacy residents and also our new residents that we're beginning to hear from. With this war on blight, and make no mistake about it, it is a war. We are determined to deliver a cleaner, safer, mixed-use, mixed-income community like you have seen like no other. But this is just the beginning. As we go after blight, those of you who are illegally building in our communities, disregarding the permitting process, ignoring the stop work orders, and refusing to renovate until your property values go up, displaying overall disrespect to our communities, you are next. We are putting you on notice. We are saying to you what my grandmama used to say to me, boy, get in there and clean up your mess. So why are we here today? To highlight the revitalization strategies, to recognize the mayor's tactical enforcement efforts, but more importantly, to say thank you to our public, nonprofit, and philanthropic actors who support residents and redevelopment strategies, starting with the blight tax, the hiring of more code enforcement officers over the last few years. This administration and this council is dedicated to delivering to the tools to our people on the ground to service our community. We are dedicated to removing the very things that have stopped our community from being developed properly. So let me be clear, these strategies is not a punitive one. It doesn't seek to punish anyone, but it do seek to encourage you to stop the disrespect, to stop the business buffoonery. These strategies are designed to protect our families, to protect what simple people want to do every day, walk in their neighborhoods and don't have to worry about that open and vacant house on the corner or who may be in it. Don't have to worry about that house catching on fire next door and starting a fire at your property. These are things that we are determined to stop throughout our city. So Atlanta, I believe that we can and we will eradicate blight. And we will, and once I said to the mayor, turn the most affordable dirt right here in District 3 than any place else in the city. We will and we must. So thank you for being here today, but more importantly, thank you for supporting my residents and communities in these efforts to eradicate blight. Now I'd like to turn it over to one of my good friends, the CEO of Atlanta Housing, Terry Lee.
Good morning. It is, so Mr. Rogers used to say it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, but I'm going to say it's a phenomenal day in the neighborhood. And y'all can join me with that because it's phenomenal because our mayor has taken on the challenge, and he's taken it on quite seriously to make sure Atlanta is not just the best place for our children to live, but quite honestly, the best place for all of us to live. And Atlanta Housing, Mayor, we join you in that commitment. I am so happy to be here this morning, and I'm happy because whenever we have the opportunity to impact a neighborhood, transform a community, and more importantly, impact lives, that is something that, quite honestly, I've dedicated my life to. At Atlanta Housing, we have been just, quite honestly, hyper-focused on the West Side. Here alone, we've invested over $200 million over the last 2 years within this community, creating more than 2,800 units of housing. Now, we've done that with the help of our partners at Invest Atlanta, but y'all, we have more to do. We also provide housing to about 2,200 residents along the West Side, and that's through our Housing Choice Voucher Program, where our families have the opportunity to choose the communities they want to live in. And so when our families choose to live in a community, we have every right to make sure that a property owner is responsible to that family. We are making sure at Atlanta Housing that while our families are choosing quality housing, we're also making sure that that quality housing is up to the standards that not only our residents deserve, but also that their neighbors deserve. We want to make sure that we bring good neighbors to Destiny as well as to Miss Thelma in this community alone. I will tell you, I remember years ago, and we just took a walk through the neighborhood. Years ago, I read a book called Roxy's Day in Vine City. And Roxy's Day in Vine City was a result of the University Home Choice Neighborhood Implementation Grant that Atlanta Housing has a few blocks from here, where we've invested we've created over 600 units of affordable housing. But what struck me about Roxy was written by 4 young ladies, 4 little girls from Vine City, and they decided to make the main character a puppy. And anyone who knows me knows that I love this miniature schnauzer named T-Rex. And so because of T-Rex, I was like, well, let me check Roxy out. Let me see what Roxy is doing. And so as Roxy moved into Vine City, she decided to take a walk, much like the walk that the mayor took this morning with many of us. And as she was walking through the community, she saw derelict homes. She saw abandoned lots. She saw a lot of trash and litter. But then she also saw some of our unhoused neighbors. And Roxy got disappointed. She got disappointed because when she moved to Vine City, she was excited about the opportunity to live in what she thought was a community of opportunity. And then as she walked through the neighborhood, she saw things that were not necessarily pleasant. Well, Roxy had a chance to speak with an elder of a neighborhood, much like the conversation the mayor had with Ms. Thelma this morning. And the elder of the community shared with Roxy that the community change would start with her. That if she would take the opportunity to make a difference, then others will follow her, and Vine City will be the neighborhood that it is destined and should be. Quite honestly, the neighborhood that Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King lived in. And so Roxy, with that, had a renewed sense of hope because she knew that Vine City would not just be a neighborhood for her, but it would be a neighborhood for all if the community took an effort. So today what you see is the community has made this effort, and the city and Atlanta Housing and our other partners are joining along with you. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to continue to make sure that we do the best that we can for this community and for all our communities in the city of Atlanta. And I have to tell you, I'm going to put a testament to that. We have a nefarious property owner right here in this community, and we're not taking it anymore. We're working very hard and very diligent to make sure that that property owner, that's an owner of a multifamily project property that I will not name, Councilmember Amos, we are making sure that we take every effort for property recompense so that our residents have the quality housing that they deserve and that the community has the quality neighbors that it deserves. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Well, Terry didn't bother to introduce me, so so I'm not Roxy.
Please allow me to introduce the phenomenal, the illustrious Don Arnold, Chief Operating Officer of Invest Atlanta. Please give it up.
Thank you, Terry. No, Terry, we have these running jokes because Terry knows that I hate coming behind her. So the least you can do is introduce me since I have to follow you. But today is a phenomenal day, Terry. Terry and many others, the mayor, Courtney, who's always busy. They all know that I've been doing this work for 30 years. And when I came to Invest Atlanta, this neighborhood, the $8 million trust fund that was created for this neighborhood was the first project that I had. And the $8 million trust fund that we had was all about housing. And so we jumped in, and this was a result of them building the first Falcon Stadium. And the neighborhood was in such, they were upset because they felt like there were investments that were coming to their neighborhood that excluded them. So the state, the county, and the city got together to create this trust fund. And again, it was all about housing. And we came in and we invested, somewhere close to $300 million. We leveraged that trust fund. And we built housing, all different types of housing. And then probably about 15 years ago, I realized we did it all wrong. We did it all wrong because we only focused on housing. We never focused on holistic community and economic development. We did not focus on changing the lives of the people that lived here, but also providing essential community amenities that's needed. We didn't focus on making sure that kids had a safe route to school. I mean, we had kids that attended Kennedy Middle School, now Hollis Academy, that were afraid to walk past vacant and blighted structures because they had no idea where they would end up. We had so many dilapidated properties that were not only surrounding the schools, but in many of the neighborhoods. And the kids would talk about how their parents would have to walk them to school and come to the school in the afternoons to pick them up or send someone to actually escort them back home. And so that led to a conversation about, although Invest Atlanta is not in the business of education, how can we contribute? So we started an initiative where we actually purchased quietly 48 properties in Vine City and English Avenue with the goal of not just buying these properties and sitting on them, but redeveloping them. And I'm happy to say that those properties, many of those properties are already activated. Many of those properties are now a part of the Atlanta Land Trust, so they are going to be permanently affordable. They were sold to qualified low to moderate income individuals between 60 and 100% of area median income. We have developed 8 different apartment complexes throughout Vine City and English Avenue. And I can go on and on with all the investments that we've made as a result of us purchasing those properties, even from our contribution to Cook Park and Catherine Johnson Park, which for those legacy residents that have been here know that those came as a result of some blighted properties that we had actually acquired. But all that doesn't speak to the people. So when we start thinking about blight remediation and changing and transforming neighborhoods, you cannot exclude the people that live here. Those legacy residents that have been in this community for 50 and 60 years, that have gone through not only the crime, but the disinvestment and just the neglect that has come to their community. And so when you start to think about what is next, it feels good to have a mayor and a city council member and a philanthropic organization like Westside Future Fund and Atlanta Housing that's committed to not only this neighborhood, but this neighborhoods throughout the city, and don't mind saying it. Because one thing I can tell you is, once you have a big press conference like this, and I see all my news reporters out here, and the mayor gets up in front of this podium and he says what he's gonna do, it's gonna get done. We'll have another sleepless night, several sleepless nights. So just like he's talked about his 20,000 units of affordable housing, it's gonna be the same thing with blight remediation. So if you're out there and you own property in this neighborhood and other neighborhoods throughout the city, beware, because Courtney English is gonna send me emails, he's gonna call me, and he's gonna remind me that we have 9 TADs that have funding in them. And that funding needs to be used to do everything we possibly can to not only remediate blight, but to change lives. Aren't you, Courtney? Amen. Yes, every night. To all our legacy residents and to our new residents here in Vine City, we're committed. And throughout the city of Atlanta, we're committed to this neighborhood and other neighborhoods. And as we continue to make this journey, just know that this problem didn't happen overnight, and we're not going to solve it overnight. So please be patient with us. Please, give us your ideas. I mean, we are about community engagement, and we are about transforming neighborhoods, but we're also about making sure that equity and inclusion happens as we go through this process, and that you are not forced out of the neighborhoods that you spent most of your lives raising your children and your families in. So thank you, and have a blessed day.
So I'll do myself too. That's all good.
Okay, so John, let me get. So John needs no introduction.
That can go either way.
So I knew this, which is why I didn't bother to introduce him. But John, John and I have been doing this work for a while, and John, when I walked up, he just came and gave a big hug and said, "Thank you for all the work that Invest Atlanta is doing, but no, thank you for all you're doing." because the philanthropic dollars that you brought to this neighborhood and the commitment is just unbelievable. So without further ado, the man that needs no introduction, John Allman.
All right, good. Thank you. I'm John. I'm going to lead the West Side Future Fund, a place-based, not-for-profit focused on English Avenue, Vine City, along with the AUC neighborhood in Ashview Heights. I lead the West Side Future Fund, and I also live in Vine City. And I actually live on Sunset, which is the last street, Terry Lee referenced this, that Dr. Martin Luther King and his family last lived, 234 Sunset Drive. And so this location is less than a mile from where he lived and his family lived. So this is within walking distance on a very historic street, James P. Brawley, named after the Lynn University Center president. And what we want for this community where he called home is for this to be an example of equitable development, and I'm gonna talk more about that. But what I really want to appreciate the leadership, Mayor, Terry Lee, Don, our councilman, and what I appreciate about all of you, I know you've been in different leadership roles before this one, working hard on behalf of these communities for a long time, and it takes a bit to be able to manifest what we're seeing today. But thank you, and I also want to thank Terry Lee and Courtney, along with Eloisa, are on my board of directors with the West Side Future Fund, so thank you for that leadership as well. And one thing we want to do as a not-for-profit partner is ensuring that legacy residents who have a live connection, learn connection, like the AUC, colleges, work connection, that we prioritize people with a live, work, learn connection to go into homes in these neighborhoods. And we do that through our anti-displacement tax fund, and along the tour we saw Miss Thelma. And the anti-displacement tax fund means that Miss Thelma, as property values go up around her, which she is, with new homeowners coming in, she's not paying that increased taxes because her assessments have gone up. So, Mayor, thank you for your leadership expanding the anti-displacement tax fund. So revitalization takes hold. Legacy residents can remain in their homes. We also do high-quality rental. We have over 200 rental units in these neighborhoods, and helping families with down payment assistance purchase homes like Destiny. And I also want to thank our partners in all this. Maybe you often say it's a group project, and our partners, I see Jay with ANDP. We have a great partnership with ANDP, Atlanta Habitat, along, I think I saw Matt with Oaks ATL that actually, built this home. But what I really appreciate about, Mayor, your leadership, and I've been in some meetings where your team was very pointed about this message. It's not just about dealing with the blighted properties you're seeing, but developing the vacant land. So we want this vacant land, which is blighted and can be so problematic to the community, to be recycled as high-quality housing that's wealth building for legacy residents. And that's exactly what Destiny is an example of what we want to accomplish. Thank you, Destiny, for letting us be next to your house today. We appreciate it. And so this was a formerly, we tore down this home. This is a new build, but this is an example of activating, land. We prioritize works in the neighborhood at Promise Center with down payment assistance is in this home, which is exactly what we want to see. So this is a virtuous cycle of taking dangerous land and repurposing it back to the mayor's initiative of equity. This is exactly what we want to do more of. And this vacant land you're on right now is owned by the West Side Future Fund. And for many of these, the new sheriffs in town, from Byron, the West Side Future Fund has deployed over $25 million purchasing vacant and blighted land. So when someone's willing to sell, we'll buy it at a reasonable value. We've bought this land, and this will be high-quality housing that we'll build out on this land right here. We've offered to buy the land you see across the street, but that person won't sell. And you can see they actually have an abandoned truck in the yard, right? And so if you're Destiny and your home, the home next door, so Destiny and people like her are increasing the value of the neighborhoods while folks like that are not doing anything. And so that's why I really appreciate the blight tax and the condemnation, because it's just not right that people that are increasing value to the neighborhood have to suffer that these folks won't do something about their property. And what I've appreciated living in Vine City is not just the physical danger, but the psychological impact of saying, we don't care about you. And we do care. And I know, Mayor, you care, and I know your team cares to make something different happen in these neighborhoods. And what I want to finish my remarks off is we own about 20 acres of undeveloped land. And Mayor, we really appreciate it in your team, as well as we launched a capital claim last August 2nd at the Coca-Cola Company. You headlined it for us. Thank you. And it was to raise $55 million philanthropic. We would call down low-cost financing from our impact fund along with public grants. It would activate over 500 units of high-quality housing in these neighborhoods on formerly blighted vacant land, single-family and multifamily. So we launched a philanthropic campaign of $30 million. Mayor, really appreciate the leadership because we've raised, as I stand here today, close to $30 million in 13 months. And so we want to do our part because as the public sector steps up and does this part, the not-for-profit and philanthropic come in and do its part. So we have more to go. But we want to, as fast as we can raise the money, we want to be able to activate the land, and we want to complement our lead in philanthropic partner, the Arthur and Blank Family Foundation at $10 million, Chick-fil-A Foundation at $5 million, and the Home Depot all at $5 million, along Coca-Cola at $1 million, along with others. But it's all about bringing wealth-building opportunities back to these neighborhoods through high-quality housing. And so I just, again, want to thank, and as I close out, I've got a great team at the Westside Future Fund, so team, raise your hand so we can just all thank all the hard work of the Westside Future Fund team. And what we want to do is to be able to come back in a couple years and literally leave from the place Dr. King last lived, 234 Sunset, and walk down James P. Brawley and see it as an example of equitable development that he'd be proud. And Mayor and your team, thank you for the intentional lean and leadership in making these hard decisions to move our community forward.
Thank you. Give it up for John. You can tell he's passionate about this. I want all the cameras to stay because I want to do this, give you this optic. So will all of my code enforcement team members come up here for a second? Everybody, come on up here. Don't worry, I'm going to get more people coming up here in a second. So code enforcement, our solicitor's office, Raines and Smith, our deputy solicitor and our solicitor. Come on, we all going to get real close. Come closer. I want y'all in camera view. So what you see here, you know, we talk a lot about carrots and sticks. You know, you can give carrots that are sweet for people to eat and they'll enjoy it and make sure, you know, that the progress is made. The stick is the legal side of this thing. So we have lawyers, we have a solicitor, we have our code enforcement. They're the ones that are going to go out here and make sure that people that own these properties, these out-of-town investors, that own houses as well as commercial properties, that they do the enforcement and then apply the blight tax. Now, Courtney, your team, Chief Policy Officer Courtney English, bring all your team up here that will help them, and Westside Future Fund. I want all you guys over here with the Westside Future Fund team, as well as Donnell. Come on, come on. If you think you got something to do with this, come on up here. Y'all are on the carrot side. Not to put y'all in the bad light as y'all are sticks, but y'all are enforcement, and y'all make sure that everybody behaves correctly and does the right thing. Peter, pick which side you're going to be on. You kind of go, you know, you want to go on this side. And then Reverend Smith, you need to come up because you're going to pray for everybody and make sure everybody behave in the city of Atlanta. But you also represent all of these pastors around here. These communities have a number of churches that have hoped to see their communities be revitalized. They got church members that have to walk or pass by blighted properties. And so you represent the clergy. So on this side are all the people that controls, and Terry and Dawn, y'all over here. Y'all get in this picture too. Get in there somewhere. These folks over here are going to help you be able to make a productive use out of your property, to help you bring it up to code, to help you get some new families in there. And that's what they do on this side. And this side over here is if you don't, we will make sure that you have a blight tax and you will be penalized for that. And so that is where we are today because this has gone on too long. And so lastly, I want to bring up Miss Thelma and Miss Destiny. Come up, you guys. You both represent community members. One is young and one is younger in our community. One is a new resident and one has been a resident a long time. These are the faces of the community that we do this work for. They are homeowners in our community. One that is a brand new homeowner and one that's been a homeowner waiting for these things to change and improve. So all of the folks that you see represented here today are a part of the transformation from this neighborhood transformation initiative. And this is why we do this, so that these residents and residents to come will enjoy this great neighborhood. So I hope y'all get this visual, and I hope that any nefarious landlord that's out there, anyone that is bringing down our community by having a property that is boarded up, that is abandoned or vacant, that you see that this is the team. And there's more people that aren't here right now. Of course, our council member had to go, and the whole city council and others are committed to making progress in this area. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all. And I'll